Good morning. I think we're ready to kick off. So welcome to today's webinar entitled Unlocking the Value of Unstructured Data. Titan Data Solutions are a specialist distributor of cybersecurity and data-driven products and services. And our vision is to bring groundbreaking and industry-first products and services to the channel. So as we all know, data lives everywhere. It's created and processed at the edge. It's moved to both the cloud and the core data center, and it's stored and protected in multiple locations. And how we harness the value of this data will transform the business landscape of the future. And you're probably on the call today as a reseller wondering how you unlock the business value of your customers' data. So I'd like to introduce you to Quantum, who Quantum are positioned to be your strategic technology partner for the entire data lifecycle. I'm joined today by Liam Clifton, who is the regional sales manager at Quantum, and Rob Clark, who's the regional channel manager. We will talk around the new technologies which Quantum have come out with recently, and that will enable your customers to manage massive unstructured data growth. And Rob's going to talk about Quantum Alliance, which is an incredible opportunity for a reseller, and we'll explain how you can make extra margin, rebates, incentives, and more importantly, how you can quickly build a pipeline of sales and marketing support with Quantum's help. So I'm going to hand over to Liam Clifton, who will take it away.
Thanks, Steve. Great stuff. Okay, so I've been at Quantum for about 10 years now, and in the last 10 years, Quantum's gone through some massive changes. And I think that what we're going to cover today will demonstrate that, both in terms of the direction that we're traveling in and the technology that we have available to help our customers manage that unstructured data growth. So first of all, let's have a quick look at Quantum. So you probably know a lot of this, but maybe not all of it. So we've been around for 40 years. Last year was our 40th birthday. What a year to have a 40th birthday. For 20 years of that, we've actually been managing unstructured file data anyway, as well as doing the things that you know us really well for, such as backup and recovery. We have about 30,000 active support contracts around the world, which translates into a huge number of customers pretty much globally, and in pretty much every market sector, and more than 44 exabytes of data are preserved on Quantum. As Steve said, by 2025, 80% of data is going to be unstructured. That change in the paradigm from structured to unstructured is massive, but at the same time, we have huge growth as well, and that's driven by the amount of video that we have, the amount of images and files that are there from a huge number of different market sectors. And if we think about how we create data and how we treat data these days, it is exponentially bigger. It's so much bigger that it makes the average database look tiny these days. And it's growing really, really fast. It's not growing at 5% or 10%, it's growing at nearly 60% in some cases. That data also has to be accessed across the globe. So having a single silo of data often isn't adequate as a data repository these days. So we have to bear that in mind as well. More and more, we're keeping data for a significant length of time because people have realized that that data often has value, not just at the instant that it's created, but in the future as well, to provide historical trending and analysis, and potentially even to be resold and repackaged in a different way. And that drives business value. And that's what it's all about, trying to help our customers be more profitable and to survive in the ever more difficult, ever more changing world that we exist in. To truly play in this area, we actually have to have an end-to-end solution across the data lifecycle. And you probably know Quantum as a provider of point products. And we still do that. We still provide the tape libraries and the DXIs that you know us for. But where we're moving towards is an unstructured data paradigm, which has a full end-to-end solution. So all the way through from upload and creation, through cataloging it, working on it, analyzing it and distributing it, all the way through to preserving and sharing that data as well, and protecting it forever. To do that, we have a hugely expanded portfolio. And even for those of you who keep up with quantum, there's probably some stuff on here that you're not aware of. Things are moving that quickly. We're going to look at these little silos in pretty scant detail today, but hopefully what it will do is give you a quick overview as to how many different areas we can help you and your customers. So let's move straight on from here. In our primary portfolio, we have recently acquired a company called Squarebox Systems and a product called CatDV. When we think about data, what we often don't think about is how that data is catalogued and managed. We just think about where to put it, because predominantly we're storage people. The reality is that actually that process has to happen before you can put it on the storage. So what CatDV does is an asset manager, and it's really good at managing the workflow. So it takes away the file system as a browsing tool. It lets the users view that data and to categorize that data into useful sets by tagging. And the way that CatDV works as an asset manager is pretty light. It's not majorly heavy or difficult to implement. What it does is to give the right data to the right person at the right time. At the moment, CatDV is very much focused on the media and entertainment market. However, they have a number of customers in other vertical market sectors as well. And what we'll see over time is that Quantum will integrate CatDV into our product lineup and make it work more broadly across the multiple different marketplaces. So if you have a customer who has a lot of data but doesn't really understand how to look after it, how to view that data, how to make that data work for them, CatDV could be a really good place to start the conversation. If you've known Quantum for a while, you'll know about the StoreNext product, but StoreNext is changing as well. It's no longer a difficult science project. It's not a challenge these days to implement like it used to be, but it's retained all of the great functionality that it used to have. So it's a really fast file system, but it also has the data management platform at the back end. So it has the fastest streaming performance, and we'll look at just how fast in a little while. And it really doesn't matter where that data comes from. It can come from satellites, from cameras, from sensors in automotive driving, from genome sequences, but you can throw that into StoreNext and it provides blazing fast performance. What it also does is allow you to share that data across teams, across multiple connectivity options and multiple client types. So we don't really mind if you have a Mac, a PC, you work over NFS, or you're trying to access your data through S3. StoreNext can cope with all of that and with the processing capability that's required. As time's gone on, people don't want to just process and manage that data. They want to keep it and preserve it for a long period of time. And it's been shown time and time again that the best place to do that is not on the super fast, super expensive storage that you have at the front end, because that's the performance that you need for processing. It's better to put that in the cloud or on a tape archive, or these days on an object storage archive. Each of those has their own benefits and reasons for doing it, and you can use combinations of them with StoreNext. It really is a fully functional file system and data management platform that will work end to end to provide that solution for your customers. I know we brag a bit about how fast StoreNext is. The latest information that's come in from the testing that's been done by a third party shows this quite dramatically. And for video type workloads, we are faster than Weka, DDN. We have better responses times than the people like IBM on either Spectrum Scale or Deep Flash, and the highest throughput. And that's really quite impressive to have that breadth of performance across multiple different variables, if you like, of performance. And that's what StoreNext is really good at, providing best value per concurrent stream. I'm not going to cover any more on StoreNext. I could probably talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours on it. It is a very, very full functional product. But think hard about where you could use StoreNext with your customers. It's very sticky. It gets embedded into the customers, into the way that they work, and becomes an integral part of their business workflow. And that's where we start to provide real value to our customers. One of our newer product sets is ATFS, the All-Terrain File System. In summary, it's an easy-to-use NAS platform with integrated data classification. I hate that strapline. It's actually the wrong way around. What we need to think about is of it being a classification tool that just happens to be NAS connectivity. Why do we need a classification tool at all? So think about the pain points. Most of our customers lack true visibility into their data. To try and find files will often mean manual searching for hours or days because things are not catalogued properly. Manually moving data from one pot to the other costs time and money. Because they don't really understand where anything is or what anything is, the fear of deleting any data is also fairly large. And that means that there's data sprawl and you're using more storage than you need to do. And most importantly of all, that means that you're outpacing your budget because you're keeping stuff. Your data and hence your storage are growing so fast that you're having to budget more and more of your IT spend or more and more of your corporate spend towards IT. So what does ATFS do? ATFS gets rid of the two problems really with third-party data management tools and with NAS systems. NAS systems are great, but they don't really provide any visibility into the data. They just provide a form of connectivity to throw the data back out to the users. Third-party data management tools are usually complex. They're not particularly well integrated, and managing them on their own is a major task, let alone managing the data that they're there to manage. So you end up with a double whammy. With ATFS, what we've done is to make an appliance that gives us the opportunity to integrate storage and data management into an easy-use platform that just happens to be connected through NAS. So what does it do? Using zero-touch tagging, which is a phrase that I'd love you to remember, ATFS identifies and classifies data with zero performance penalty. What that allows you to do is to make various pots of data that enable you to manage that data more effectively and more efficiently. It gives real-time data search and analytics into that data and really, really good cost-performance ratio due to a mix of NVMe, SSD, and standard disk architecture. Where does ATFS work? It works really well for people who are managing loads and loads of files, typically project-based, and who need to keep those files for a relatively long time, because it enables you to classify the files on ingest, manage them and move them as you need to, and to be able to delete them in one big bulk as that project ends or as the retention period for that data finishes due to compliance issues or due to a funding end. So research departments, legal departments, anything to do with science or genomics or something like that who provide big piles of data to people. Okay. I mentioned zero-touch tagging. I'm not going to apologize for saying it again. It's a really important phrase to remember. No overhead tagging of files, plus the single global view that ATFS offers gives you the ability to manage that data much, much, much more effectively than you would otherwise be able to do. What kind of rules can you apply? So you can tag based on the metadata of files and objects quite easily. So you can tag by the file metadata, by extension, by the user that's created it, or even by the path or the IP address that's created it. So if a user is working on a particular project, you can make a group, a tag set that will work off that particular project. If you want to be able to tag data that comes from a particular genome sequencer, you can do that by the IP address that applies to it. To try and put that into perspective, I want to just have a very quick look at one customer case study, which is the Hormel Institute. So these guys are a cancer research department at the University of Minnesota, and they use the high-res electron microscopes to generate a huge pile of data. They have over 100 researchers, and those researchers are actually funded by grants. And all the grants have different requirements about retention, what they have to do with the data, who that data has to be made available to. So it's a huge problem for the Institute to manage that. ATFS gives them the ability to manage that data very, very effectively, because they can identify what data is where and put data retention and deletion policies in place, because they've tagged that data as it comes in with the appropriate information that allows them to identify whose data it is, what the retention periods are, and so on. And what they're finding is that gives them the ability to understand their utilization of storage capacity and how it's genuinely growing without the need to keep every piece of data forever. It also allows them to manage that data based on the needs of researchers. So typically, their pattern will be that the first few months of work, there's lots and lots of activity, there's lots and lots of work going on that data. So they'll keep that on the fastest storage possible. After that, it can be moved down to the bulk storage very, very easily. And ATFS allows them to make that decision and at the single push of a button, move an entire project from flash down to bulk storage. For those of you who remember much about last year, you may remember that Quantum bought Western Digital's ActiveScale object storage. This is a product that's been known to us for a very long while, and we've been reselling it for 6 years or so. When the opportunity came up to buy it, it was an absolute no-brainer for us to do that, to fit into that end-to-end quantum solution objective that we have. ActiveScale is a great product. I've loved having it on the portfolio for the last year. It's taken us to a whole bunch of different places, and again, it makes the solution much, much stickier. What customer pain points drive the need for object storage? I guess most of you will probably know these today. But traditional NAS systems can't really meet the large scale requirements that we're seeing. Once you get past a petabyte or two on a NAS system, managing that is challenging. That unstructured data has been kept for a longer period of time. And protecting petabyte scale data sets on a traditional NAS system is really, really difficult. Imagine trying to do a daily or weekly backup for a 10 petabyte data set. It's truly horrible, and it keeps IT managers awake at night. Data has more value these days, and with the advent of analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, accessibility to that data is really important. And really importantly, IT resources are spending time managing storage rather than helping business transform. And one of the absolutely fantastic things about ActiveScale is it's so easy to manage. We have customers out there with 100 petabytes plus of ActiveScale with just a single person managing it. So what is ActiveScale? Always on object storage. Scales from 100 terabytes or so to hundreds of petabytes and beyond. With the latest products that are due to be launched at the end of this month, it truly has an infinite scale. There is no capacity limitation due to the architecture that we've implemented. At the moment, a single system will take about 73, 74 petabytes. So there's not too many operations out there that scale too much beyond that, but those that do need a very large scale. It's cost effective and it's really, really resilient. The way that the data is stored is particularly important in both of those statements, and it provides a searchable, protected content repository. It's also got the ability to do single, dual, or 3GO distributed architecture, and the 3GO architecture is a very, very efficient way of preserving data without the need to back it up, because you can lose an entire site and the data will still be accessible and will still be complete. So what does ActiveScale do? It allows them to address growth in a really cost-effective way. It reduces the data protection and DR costs because you're not trying to use traditional backup tools for a purpose for which they weren't intended, which is managing petabytes or backing up petabyte-style archives. It helps to address compliance and long-term retention requirements. It allows access to that archive content on an ongoing basis. And I guess that's the important thing. If you have an archive where the data has to be accessed in a timely fashion, object storage is really important. And a big win for ActiveScale, it reduces storage administrative costs, more so than pretty much any other object storage out there. We have a two-layer architecture that delivers performance benefits without the price of an all-flash solution. And that software architecture allows us to scale from hundreds of terabytes through to hundreds of petabytes and beyond, and with billions of objects. I talked a little bit about the clever way that we use the system to store data. Dynamic data placement, dynamic data repair are two ActiveScale uniques that ensure that the system is available, is well managed, and there are no issues around disks having to be repaired or taken offline. It works really, really well to provide that always-on experience. And the 3GO erasure coding is particularly important, and pretty much all of the large-scale customers use 3GO as a way to protect that data without needing to back it up. This is the current family. As you see, we scale from the low end using software licensing. We can scale down to 100 terabytes or so usable on all of these products. In hardware terms, we're ranging from 400 odd terabytes of hardware through to 74 petabytes. So pretty much every base covered. So which customers am I going to go and talk to this about? Well, anybody in life sciences is an absolute no-brainer. Anybody using AI, analytics, or machine learning, definitely. People who are actually using large-scale backup. So Veeam, Commvault, Veritas, all of those are ActiveScale certified, or ActiveScale is certified with them. So if you've got a customer who has an active archive or is looking to replace large-scale tape backup, ActiveScale is a great option for that as well. And of course, media and entertainment. Okay. No quantum presentation is safe from being a tape storage presentation. We're only going to cover this briefly. I think pretty much everybody out there understands what we do in tape storage and how we can possibly use tape storage these days. We have a full range of products, i3 and i6 family to the i6K Enterprise Library. We're also introducing Scalar i6 with a redundant array of independent libraries, so effectively bolting multiple i6 libraries together to provide hyperscale pools of tape storage. Where that gets really interesting is where we can put ActiveScale in front of it and use the technology within ActiveScale to push data down to tape libraries on a cold storage kind of basis. So what you have there is the accessibility of S3 backed up by the low-cost benefits of tape, but with protection. That is coming very, very shortly to a launch near you. Watch out for that one. That's going to be a great product. In terms of backups, tape's new use case is about offline, not offsite. So rather than using tape as a primary backup, these days most people will use a dedupe appliance or plain disk, and tape is used much more for ransomware. So the data is generally kept on-site but offline rather than off-site. We have some quantum proprietary technology which helps us with that. Because we manufacture and design our own libraries, we don't buy our libraries in from anybody else. We're able to react to market trends and to provide benefits within those libraries which our competitors can't. And ActiveVault is one of those. Active Vault is a totally secure offline in-library vault. So it's a partition in the library that the backup application can't see and where there are no drives. So your data is totally secure in there. As a ransomware protection methodology, it's absolutely ideal. So an administrator can use a policy to export the tapes from the backup application partition to the secure Active Vault. When we need to recover from the Active Vault, that can only be done using an administrator-directed command. The backup application itself cannot retrieve those tapes. Most of you will know, of course, that we have the DXI family. DXI is still a great product. We have some fantastic EMEA-wide references in a lot of different market sectors. And we've recently refreshed the product a little bit. DXI 9100 at the top end now scales out to 2 petabytes. And we have a new and very, very well-functioned virtual product that scales from 1 to 256 terabytes. They all use Quantum's variable block length deduplication to make the most of disk savings. And the hardware products have industry-leading storage density. So we can get a petabyte of spinning disk into 10U, which of course with deduplication these days is somewhere in marketing terms around 15 or 20 petabytes of retention. Unlike a lot of the systems out there, we are very, very happy to allow multi-protocol access. So CIFS or NFS, VTL fiber channel, or OST for net backup customers, and Veeam data mover service for the Veeam customers. And our integration with VDMS is second to none. Okay, a couple of things that you may not know about Quantum. These are a little kind of a standalone product set. We have a surveillance and physical security portfolio. As the surveillance market has moved on, they've moved very quickly from video type tape to low-cost IT infrastructure. But what we're finding is that surveillance is much, much more these days than just about recording images. Yes, that's needed, and those images are getting bigger and chunkier with the advent of HD cameras, but it's much more about analytics servers, building control access, facial recognition. And the industry is a little bit caught on the hop because the standard generic IT structures don't bolt together particularly well to do all of that. So Quantum have launched a range of appliances which are hyper-converged. So you can run your NVR software, your analytics software, your application servers on the same platform as the storage. And the benefits of that are reasonably obvious. It's very, very efficient in terms of management overhead, cost, and space, because everything's converged into one platform. And of course, at the back end, you could put a StoreNext system on the back end of that. Okay, that was a really, really fast walkthrough some of the unstructured data tools that we have. As you can see, Quantum has changed massively in the last 10 years from doing tape and a little bit of media and entertainment with StoreNext. We'd love the opportunity to talk to you and your customers in more detail about how we can help them. I'm going to hand over to Rob because, as well as some fantastic products, the new Quantum Alliance program is absolutely fantastic, and Rob's going to tell you all about it.
Thank you, Liam. I think it's really important that we have such an exciting set of solutions here that we match that with an alliance that is actively going to promote driving our business, working with you, rewarding your business, and we want to grow that pipeline really quickly and start getting some sales. So next slide, please, Liam. Thank you. This program we launched back in January. It's something that we're actively using. As I said, we put a whole load of new features in there. We've been working on it for some time, and it's there for you to use. It's there. It's going to give you a ton of resource, and it's something that I would actively encourage you all to sign up for as soon as you can. It's not something that sits in the background. It's something that you can use, you can drive, and it'll help you quote as well. So next slide, please. One of the things that we did do is we looked at the different reseller levels, and we thought we'd create some new ones that will include some rebates there. So what's in it for you guys? We want to include a nice bit of rebate. We want to include incentives. So there's something there for the business. There's something there for the sales guys. And actually, with this particular program, differentiates itself from previous ones that we do want companies to sign up. So there is a contract. I'll show you where it is in a minute, but there is something you just need to submit. It's very, very simple, and it's a bit like going to an Apple document, an Apple agreement, and you can see it and sign up to it from there. So next slide, please, Liam. Thank you. So these are the 3 levels. Now, to begin with, the good news is that we're putting everybody into the Premier level to begin with, apart from those that are already doing a vast amount of revenue with us. And as such, you can see there that there's going to be a 2% rebate annually paid. So if you achieve 250 grand. We will work closely with you guys. There are some commitments in there, but if you think about it, if you think about where Quantum are going, if you think the fact that we're moving from just being a storage vendor to one about data management, then we want to make sure that you guys are enabled to do that as well. So yes, we want some sales guys trained up. I want a pre-sales guy trained up, but that's all about you assisting us. That's all about us working together, combined, and having that knowledge and then taking it to the market and finding those opportunities. So I don't think it's a great deal of commitment. And from an expert level, obviously, as that scales and as we want to grow that revenue, then we want more people involved. Now, the good news is that some of the partners out there might not have the capability to have enough staff to actually get trained. And so we will work with you individually. It's a very, very flexible approach that we want to do, but it is something that if we're going to start giving out rebates and if we're going to do the incentives, people must be signed up for this. As I said, it's been running now since January. So we maintain that flexibility, and then as from September, we'll be monitoring this and working to this and making sure that people have signed up and made that commitment accordingly. Thank you, Liam. Next slide, please. So we talked about the rebates that are in it for the business. And so here we have the new business opportunity program. And this is where the sales guys can make a difference and so they can make some revenue. So if it's basically a customer, a new Quantum customer, you're going to get 4%. If it's an existing customer, it's 2%. If there is a huge SBR in there that really, really, really we want to win that business, and that comes first, winning that business, obviously, then we'll just reduce those incentive rebates by half. So it will suddenly become 2% for a new business customer, and then 1% for an existing customer. So I think that makes sense, and I think that's really, really exciting. We're going to keep it as simple as that. So we want to reward you guys, and it's a very, very clever way of doing it. So we use an Extreme platform, and so we'll set you up, an email will come out, you set up your account details, and away it goes. So it will be very simplified in terms of how we pay it out. Thank you. Next slide, please, Leah. We talked about certification training, and so whether it's sales training or whether it's the technical training, we're not asking for a huge amount of time. The pre-sales guys will want to spend some time on doing it, so there is a number of hours that are involved in doing that, and I can go into that into more detail with individual partners. And we can also maybe look at doing some of this from a face-to-face perspective. But certification courses are really important. Everything that Liam was talking about, it's really important that our partners are aware of how we're doing it, what we're doing, what's our strategy. We're moving now from not just being a hardware-focused company to being both a hardware and software-focused company. How do you move that data around? How do you monetize that data that you have? And so this is new messaging that Quantum's going to come out with. And you're going to see a lot of this in the coming months. And so it's really important that we make sure that you guys are trained up and see what we're doing and understand what we're doing. Next slide, please, Liam. So here's our platform. A lot of you will be familiar with that already. And as you can see, there's a space in there where there's a link to the reseller agreement. If you look in the purple box on the left-hand side, that's where you go. That's where you sign up and as a company. And if there's any sales guys on here, account managers, account directors, I would encourage you guys to make sure that you're signed up to Quantum Alliance. Even if you signed up a year ago or 2 years ago, it may well be that you've forgotten your password or you need some help to get back in there. But this is a resource tool that you really, really need to see. And so I would recommend that you just try it again, have a look in there today, see what's there. Also see some of the webinars that we've done in the past, especially the one regarding Veeam recently, that one of our very, very important strategic alliances partners. So you can see all of that within Quantum Alliance, and it's important that you have access to that, and then you can also do it in your own time. But also you can see the links to the deal registrations, configuration tools, all that sort of stuff, really, really important. Next slide, please. So deal registration. I would recommend that you register your deals very, very early. It's really important you do it. We're well known for making sure that we enforce our deal registration program. We'll go where the value add is. We'll go make sure it's where the partners are working with us. And I think it's really, really important that we get these registered. Obviously, there's discounts involved there. We will make sure that we will qualify them as quickly as possible. But remember, if you want to register a deal, you've got to be signed up to Quantum Alliance. Next slide, please. In terms of configuration tools, again, we want to make it as easy as possible for you so you can create your own quotes. We'll obviously help you to do those quotes, and we're here there to help build those quotes with you. So we're not asking you to do it individually. We are there to help. But you can help structure those quotes and add all the data sheets. You can personalize them. So again, a really, really nice feature within our Quantum Alliance. And then there's all the data. Then there's the libraries of data that we have. And so what can I say? It's very important that you use this. That's why you need to sign up to it. I'm not going to go through all of that, but yes, it's really important that you have access to all of that data. Next slide, please. So in terms of marketing resources, what do we want from you? You can see there that we have a whole load of different tools. What we want to do is fund. It's very, very simple. So it's not just a matter of the programs that we want to talk to you about. You know, we do a ton of surveys. They're really successful surveys that we put in place recently, whether, you know, it's for data center and M&E. They were very, very successful. But what works for you? Maybe we can come up with some marketing development funds and do something specific that works for you guys as well. How can we make them most effective as possible? We have a vast amount of resources from our marketing side, but you know what we want to do is make sure that we find those opportunities. We want to make sure that we can find the marketing tools that work best for you, and some will work for you and some will won't. But the commitment is there that if you want to work with us, we want to work with you, absolutely. And so let's talk and let's put some decent marketing programs together, and I'll be quite happy to do that on an individual basis with each one of you. Next slide, please. So, call to action. What do we want you to do today? Register for an account at Quantum Alliance. Make sure that the company's signed up so that we can put you in a premier level, and maybe see if we can take that to an elite level, an expert level, and then make sure that you're signed up. So when those opportunities come in, then we can get them registered, and there'll be no gaps in terms of making sure that you're signed up or anything like that. Complete the resale agreement. We also have some great events that are coming up next week on the 25th and 27th of May, depending on which module you want to follow. But this is where you're going to get an insight into not just the solutions that we have, you're going to get an insight into the roadmaps that are going to be there and where we're going, what's our strategy, what's our vision. And I would really, really encourage you to join that as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, does anybody have any questions from today? I jumped the gun, Steve.
That's fine. You were talking about 1,000,000 miles an hour anyway, Rob, so I don't blame you. Thank you for that. That was absolutely brilliant. No, it's fantastic. And thanks to Liam as well. From a personal perspective, it's been fascinating to watch Quantum's evolution from a data storage to a data management company. I think just from a distribution perspective, the channel perception, typically 8 times out of 10 inquiries are still from the tape background. But I think people will be pleasantly surprised if they haven't spoken to Quantum for up to 10 years to see the progress and innovation that Quantum is bringing. And I think the alliance it really is something for everyone. And you know, you've got sales accreditations, technical accreditations, and rebates for the vendor relations managers, you know, and you've got incentives for the account managers. So I think from Titan's perspective as well, we'd like to not just say thanks for your time, we'd like to jump on further calls with you to do some account mapping, to look through your customer base in tandem with Rob and Liam, and see if we can find some of these customers who are encountering the headaches that the unstructured data growth that Liam was talking to has. So I don't see any questions, which isn't a bad thing, but please please get in touch. You've got Rob's email address there and Liam's. Mine is steve@titandatasolutions.com, and please do get in touch, and thank you for your time today.